Now we'll have the county commissioners, candidates come up. There are a lot of questions.
I like it.
So we're just, we'll get through as many as we can. I want to just take a moment and thank the Tillamook Headlight Herald for helping us promote this event. The Tillamook County Pioneer is helping us promote this event and is in fact recording it this evening, and so you'll be able to catch it online as well, or direct folks to it that you know maybe wanted to see it this evening, and I really appreciate that. I also sent notices to the Tillamook County Democrat Party and the Republican Party, and both flooded the market, so I'm really glad about that too. And so just wanted to make sure I did that this evening. So we're going to jump into the county commissioner position number 3, and we'll start. You'll have 2.5 minutes to introduce yourself and what you feel is important for people to know about you before we jump into the questions. And we can start with Commissioner Bell once Pat is ready.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. I am delighted to be here. I'm grateful to AAUW for hosting this again. And I know some of you, I don't know everybody, so I'm happy to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Mary Faith Bell. I've been a Tillamook County Commissioner since 2019. I am a native Oregonian. I lived in Tillamook County for 21 years. I moved here in 2005 with my young son. I raised my son here. He went to school at Tillamook High. He graduated from Tillamook High. He went on to Oregon Institute of Technology and got a degree in math. Before I was elected to this position, I was the Director of Communications and Marketing for Adventist Health Tillamook, which was a fabulous job. Before that, I was the editor and general manager of the Tillamook Headlight Herald, which was also a fabulous job. And it was where I learned about this job because I became friends with the other county commissioners, and I was going to their meetings every week and talking to them regularly about what they were working on because I was writing about what they were working on. And at some point I thought, wow, that's a really cool job, because they were everywhere that anything interesting was happening, and they had the ability to make decisions, make policy decisions influencing the things that were going on. I am delighted to be here at TVCC because I'm the chair of the board here. I have been on the Tillamook Bay Community College board for 13 years. It's one of the things that I do that's most important to me. And so it's I feel very at home here. And I also serve on the Tides of Change board. I'm the board chair for the Tides of Change, which is a local domestic violence and sexual assault response organization. And I'm on the board for the Economic Development Council. I'm the chair of that board, and I'm also the vice chair of the Northwest Oregon Housing Authority. So those are some of the many things that I get to work on as commissioner, and also because those are my passions. So I'm glad to be here, and I ask for your vote for another term. Thank you.
Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Lisa, for having us here. Thank you for the AAUW. Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate this. This is an opportunity for me to get to know you and get to know me. I'm Jeff Spink. I'm running for Tillamook County Commissioner, position number 3. For those that don't know me very well, most of you don't, I'm not from Oregon originally. I was born and raised in upstate New York. When I was late teens, I went into the military, ended up in the Air Force, and joined the Air Force and ended up in Northern California, which I spent most of my time there, and then traveling around the world with a specialty unit. Started going to school in Northern California, graduated with an associate's degree in communications and photography, moved to Southern California, and was gainfully unemployed and worked for an underground cable construction company. And from there, I ended up in the car business and never did go back to college. I was accepted to a private school in Southern California, pursued other interests, thought the car business was going to make it for me, and it did very, very well. It allowed me to pursue some other personal interests that I probably would not have been able to do otherwise. From Southern California, went through the crash in '92 and was looking to transition and go into some other different areas of my life. Came to Oregon 3 or 4 different times over the period of a year. And every time I showed up, it was 70 degrees, sunshine, no wind, no rain. So I said, heck, after about a year, I'm saying, I'm moving to Oregon. I can live at the beach. Can't afford to do that in Southern California. And I moved here in, I think it was April 4th of '93, and it rained every day. The first year I was here. So Oregon is very much home to me. Moving here to Tillamook County about 25 years ago. Lived in Lincoln County prior to that, but moving to Tillamook County, it's a home for me. I've really found a place here. I got 30 seconds here, just kind of wrapping it up. I am the sales manager for Tillamook Motor Company. For those that do know me, that's where I've been the last 22 years. And I'm looking to be your next Tillamook County Commissioner.
Thank you. Well, I try to start out with a gentle question. There are none. So I'm going to go to the least hard question. This was actually geared towards Commissioner Bell, but I think it's appropriate for both to answer, but that does require me to change the question wording just a little bit. And it's really about, how constituents who may not know you are able to contact you. And so the question is what plan do you have to be accessible or more accessible, in your case, Commissioner Bell, to the public, to your constituents? And we can start with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm more comfortable standing and talking to you because I'm happy to see the people in the back of the room. I am accessible to people. I can tell you this for a fact because I take calls, I read my emails late at night, early in the morning. I go to meetings in the evenings and on weekends. I'm at events. I'm at events 7 days a week. People can call me. People can email me. People can text me. I am as accessible as I could be. I can tell you that my son refuses to go to the store with me because it's impossible to go to Fred Meyer and do any efficient shopping, because always there will be at least a couple people who will stop and talk to me about things that they're worried about. And I like that. I like knowing people in my community and being able to talk to people everywhere I go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Spinks.
Same question. All right, thank you. I also am very accessible. People come in and see me every day at the dealership. As county commissioner, I think with the, as Mary Faith said, you've got your emails and your text messages and things of that nature. I'm more of a one-on-one person or, small group person. This is very nervous from. But anyways, I like to get out into the public. I would probably go to coffee groups and different meetings and maybe put specialty meet and greets, as county commissioner in different parts of the county. So people can come to me, I can go to them, because I do hear a lot about, we don't hear anything from county commissioners. We don't hear anything from county commissioners. I want to be accessible on a one-on-one, face-to-face basis. So that's my answer.
Okay. Well, and then we'll start with on this next question, Mr. Spinks.
Okay.
How will you handle people with whom you disagree, whether they be fellow commissioners or constituents?
Well, step back off there. Well, that's a good question. Basically, negotiation, because there's always two sides to the coin. And if you get to learn the other person's side, because usually a disagreement means I know about this much of the subject, they know this much of the subject. I don't know if everybody knows everything about the subject, but that's why there's a disagreement. So I try to learn what the other person knows. And I try to understand where they're coming from by putting myself into their shoes to see if there is some common ground. Most of the time there is, sometimes there's not. But the whole thing is that learning from the other individual to kind of meet in the middle, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bell?
I'm an excellent listener, and I don't think that was always true. I took a class in active listening decades ago, and in that class, I learned that I wasn't a good listener before. I used to listen in order to respond and figure out what I was going to say next. And now I'm truly a good listener, and I lean in. This position, the county commissioner position, is nonpartisan, and it should be. That's appropriate because we represent everyone in the county. And I lean in. I try to find common values with people. I try to find places where we connect and things we have in common. And I guarantee you that all of us have something in common, and likely any number of things. And I look for those things. And in particularly difficult situations, I pray for people. So that's just the truth about me. I pray for people. In particular, if there's conflict or the situation is difficult, I'll pray for people while they're talking.
Okay, next question. Well, this is specific to Commissioner Bell. The commissioners decided to change the elected treasurer's position that had served as a checks and balances and should be independent of the financial director's position. Why didn't you, commissioners, do a public hearing or go to the voters before you decided to change this position?
So for folks who don't know, the Tillamook County Treasurer, who the previous Tillamook County Treasurer resigned. And so she resigned with 30 days notice, and the commissioners are responsible to fill that position. So we couldn't leave the treasurer position vacant. So we're responsible to fill the position. So we appointed the deputy treasurer to be the treasurer. In the meantime, we were working through financial reorganization, and in that, I'm going to have to be quicker about explaining this. But in that process, one of the things we discovered, because there was a vacancy in the treasurer position, we had to look at the efficiency of the office. And it was clear that we have a finance director. We didn't need two executive level positions in an office of 4. So we decided to change the treasurer position to just the statutory duties of the treasurer.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Spinks. You said in the Headlight Herald that you would bring a more objective, less emotional mindset to the decision-making process than Commissioner Bell. What exactly do you mean by that?
What exactly do I mean by that? Gotta love Will. Frankly, Mary Faith is very, very eloquent. She has a degree in creative writing. She does speak a little bit better than I do. I'm more methodical in my thinking, I believe. I come from a mechanical background and, the military, and communicate on a little bit different level than a lot of people do. So I guess the simple answer is we're just two different people. I'm a little bit more direct in my communication. I don't use a lot of words, things of that nature. So I guess that's the simple answer.
Okay. This is to both of you. Definitely have slightly different angles on it. We'll start with you, Mr. Spinks. It is the BLM building. Could cost $6 million to renovate on top of the $2 million it costs to buy the building. How do you intend to pay for considering costs are rising, adding to our current debt, revenues are declining, and not ask for more money from the taxpayers?
Well, let's see how we can answer that question. I don't have a lot of expertise in the whole process that happened. I'm like a lot of you people, I see it on the fringe. But I guess the whole purpose of getting the new building was because they needed more space for a judicial system. And so it's like, okay, so we're going to move some of the different county offices to here. We're going to have some of them here. We're going to split it up. And I got looking at it and I go, geez, why don't they just move the whole judicial system over to the new building? The sheriffs can have their sally port, they can section it off, have their courtrooms and things like that, prisoner areas. Can I get an extra 30 seconds or something?
That's kind of a tough question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyways, so I got thinking, it's like, okay, why don't we move the whole judicial system over there, bring the community development back into the courthouse, and then, you know, that I'll have to refer to Mary Faith. I don't know exactly what they're paying in rent, but that would be revenues that we could do upgrades on both buildings, I guess.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Bennett.
The county did just recently buy the BLM building. The reason we bought the BLM building is we had a problem to solve that had been an outstanding problem for over 20 years, which is safe and adequate space for circuit court. The county is required by law to provide this. So there's a shortage of space in the courthouse. The county had been through several iterations over the last 20 years trying to solve that problem, and money had always been the barrier. They considered multiple options, and money was never available. So what purchasing the BLM building does is to buy an existing building is far less expensive than to build something. The price had come down. It started at $3 million. It came down to 2.45, where the part of the question was it could cost $6 million to renovate, but I don't think that any of us would spend $6 million to renovate it. It was in good shape, and BLM was using it just recently. So my idea is that we would figure out. I've asked for a space assessment to see if we can get the Department of Community Development, Tax and Assessment, and Emergency Management into that building, which would save us money. We'll own the property, solve the courthouse problem. It could solve a whole bunch of problems and be very efficient.
Well, might as well stay standing. Okay, start with you. What have you done or will you do to encourage Tillamook County industries, also including the remnants of our extractive industrial area, timber, fisheries, farming, and our emergent tourism industry, hospitality, parks, ecological preservation?
Wow. Okay, that's big. Well, I am the chair of the Economic Development Council. Jeff's also on the Economic Development Council board. And we're doing all kinds of work in order to support the economy, to encourage the economy, encourage economic growth, encourage industries, encourage new entrepreneurs. We're doing all kinds of good work through EDC. Additionally, I'm the liaison to the Tillamook Coast Visitors Association, so I'm the commissioner liaison directly involved in tourism. Tourism is a growing and very important leg of our economy. It's very important to local businesses. I'm the liaison to Tillamook County Parks. We bring in millions of dollars of revenue for the county every year because people want to come here and camp on the coast. And I totally support the natural resources industry. In particular, I recently made a strong pledge for the crabbing industry.
Oh, just to add to that, I'm not a county commissioner, so I don't know all the nuances of all the different things. This is a pretty complicated question. But we do have a natural resource infrastructure already in place, and then developing on that, and basically with the new administration and stuff like that, we're seeing more logging, states logging. So we're seeing those proceeds come in with the EDC, things like that, being able to take kind of build on that process to where we can get workforce back into the county, which spends money, creates jobs, or the industries will create jobs, which hopefully we can build infrastructure for housing, things like that. But parlaying that into moving into a more sustainable type of an industry that's not so impacted by fluctuations in the natural resource economies, I guess you'd say. So,
Thank you. Mr. Speaks? Do you believe Tillamook County is well served by its current model of a general rural county? And if so, shouldn't the county maintain a full-time elected treasurer? But if not, are you willing to work toward changing the county status to a home rule county?
Home rule county has its own issues as well because no, that's a good question because at one time I was like, yes, we should be home rule. No, general rule. I kind of go back and forth on it because I think a home rule run county can kind of run roughshod over the people, I think, to a degree. Where general rule a little bit different. But I guess I'm going to put my vote into the general rule. What was the other part of that question?
Well, were you willing to work towards changing the status? And then if it is general rule, should we have to maintain a full-time treasurer?
I think we should. I think was it a 0.2 position? I don't know if that's going to be enough time for that person to actually be active and oversee the treasurer.
We are well served by the general rule status of Tillamook County, and I don't think there would be no advantage to us being a home rule county. And specific to the treasurer, there are statutory responsibilities that the treasurer has to perform, and they're limited. So when we changed the treasurer role to part-time, what we said is that we want the treasurer to perform the statutory responsibilities of the role and not everything else, because we already have other people doing the other work. We have a finance director, we have people doing accounting, we have people doing accounts receivable, et cetera. We have people doing all of those things. So we don't need the treasurer to do all of those other things. So the new model, we're enthusiastic about it, but also if there's some reason that it doesn't work well, we can manipulate it.
Thank you. I don't know if this is a yes or no question. It certainly could be. The question's being asked because these policies directly affect people living in Tillamook County and they want to know where you stand on it. Do you support the Trump administration's policies on immigration? And I'll start with you, Commissioner Bell.
I do not. I do not support what's happening specifically with ICE in our communities. I do not support what's happening to our immigrant communities. I think that they're being terrorized and their things are there. I'm stumbling over my words now because I'm emotional about this issue. There are illegal activities happening in the name of the law that I think are immoral and completely horrible and destructive to our community.
Mr. Spinks.
This is a very emotional topic. And I'm just going to go and speak from positions of people that I've talked to that are here not quite legally. Some of them are my friends. I do believe in becoming legal. There are ways to get a green card. There are ways to come to this country legally. Coming illegally is not something I'm in favor of. But with that said, I've had one friend of mine basically tell me that we're foolish. He goes, "You guys are crazy." He goes, you let us do whatever we want. We can come here and do whatever we want. So, with that mindset, I do have a problem with it. So I do believe that, yes, we need to kind of tighten things up. I don't believe ICE, at least I've not seen it personally. I've seen the fear on the news. I don't think they're dragging people out of the beds. They are going through. You've got a lot of people in this country that are male-aged, military-aged males. And there's no other reason why you're here to be here. I worked 10 years in law enforcement out in Marion County, and I dealt with cartels and the Russian mob and different things like that. It was frightening. So
Thank you. We have a couple different questions around libraries. These are pretty impassioned questions around, so currently, Commissioner Bell, you're the library liaison, but I think this can apply for both of you. And it's around the appropriateness of books and the community engagement and helping make that determination. So would you support a transparent parental review process or age-based shelving guidelines to ensure materials in the children's section are appropriate? Or do you believe the librarians and county officials should decide what's best for local families without parental? We'll start actually with Mr. Speaks since he had the last question.
I do believe in parental input, and I am in favor of libraries. I was thinking about this today. I mean, there's so much controversy over what children are allowed to see. And as a parent, there's a lot of things that I don't allow my children to see or did when they were younger. And that's my responsibility as a parent. I don't want them having access to certain type of publications or, different belief systems that are outside of my household. If the library has these books, so to speak, there should be a place where, yes, it's like PGR. You have to have your adult parent there with you, not just they can go in and look at stuff. Yeah, I think there should be restrictions, and I think the parents should have a voice and a say in the system.
Thank you. Commissioner Bell.
There are, part of the question was age appropriate shelving. There is age appropriate shelving that already happens. We have a library advisory board, so communities, citizens are involved in the library through the advisory board. Additionally, the library board meetings have public comment periods where people can come in, make public comment. The library director is very accessible. Any of you could email him and talk to him. And I do not believe, I believe that the policy we've set in place for book selection to be the responsibility of the library director is appropriate, because book selection shouldn't be a political issue. Book selection should not be up to the commissioners. It should be up to library professionals who know what they're doing, and there are countrywide standards and best practices for libraries.
Thank you. So now we're going to go into a very different question that we have multiple examples of. So let's see if I can mush these together. The SAVE, capital letters, Act, which is being considered by Congress, will have an impact on Oregon's vote by mail system. How will the county ensure that the residents of Tillamook County will continue to be able to vote should that act pass? And also, this is unfunded. Let's see, this is unfunded. So how will you ensure, specific question, that women who change their names will be able to vote? I will give you a minute and a half. The follow-up is do you support? So the SAVE Act. So Commissioner Bell.
I do not support the SAVE Act. I support vote by mail in Oregon, which is very successful. I appreciated what Rachel Armitage talked about the success, the historic success of vote by mail in Oregon. It has a tremendous integrity record, and Oregon has some of the highest ratings of voter ratings of any state because of vote by mail. So I support vote by mail. I support the system we have. Here in Tillamook County, it works beautifully. It's an excellent system that provides access for everyone. And so I'm opposed to the SAVE Act for multiple reasons. One, because I think that it would the practical result would be voter suppression. And additionally, we have state laws that govern how we vote in the state. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Supreme Court weighs in on our state laws. So that'll be interesting. But also, we're totally unprepared and unfunded to change to a voting in person system. I think we have 27 precincts, and it's not going to happen for this election. And if it happens in the future, I have no idea how we would actually do it or pay for it.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Well, heck, I guess I'm going to have to say I'm in favor of it. I think with modern technology and things of that nature, voting in a precinct is not going to be that difficult. We have scanners, you have your ID, that your ID's been vetted, you are a citizen of the United States, you are a resident of the community that you live in. I think that's all important. My issue with vote by mail is I've seen it more than once with my own eyes. Can't remember who did it because it was a while back, but when you have someone sitting at a table, and this was at my workplace, filling out 4 or 5 different ballots. Now, I'm assuming they were ballots from his household. And what you have is not 4 or 5 people voting. You have one person voting 5 times. That's fundamentally wrong. So, and that's an issue. I also have people coming to me all the time telling me, oh, my deceased so-and-so still gets a ballot. My so-and-so gets a ballot. Are those ballots getting turned in? I have no idea. They call and try to purchase the voter records. It falls on deaf ears. I don't know if I'm perjuring myself or going to go to jail, but I know a customer of mine that's a permanent resident green card holder. He gets a ballot. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you. Mr. Spades, how do you plan to fund the county, when timber dollars continue to decline and will continue to do so into the future?
Timber dollars will continue to decline. It's a roller coaster ride. We do have the new split on the TLT tax, and we need to kind of capitalize on tourism and stuff like that. I always felt tourism was more of like the cherry on top of the cupcake. I don't think it's the sustainability and developed a strong working class community, but it is a fringe. We've got 75 miles of coastline. We need to take advantage of that. As far as sustainability, like I mentioned before, right now we've got some timber revenues. We've got some receipts. Businesses are starting to do a little bit better. We need to be able to take some of that growth and like I said, we need to parlay it into another type of I don't want to say the word industry, but some type of a model that is sustainable, that provides working class jobs, family living wage jobs, to help stabilize the county. We've lost a lot of people over the years, and those wages and stuff went away, and that buying power went away. And you can go through town and the businesses are slowly shrinking, at least in my industry.
Thank you. Commissioner Bell.
Well, indeed, we can't rely on timber dollars in the way that we used to. Tillamook County used to be really well served by timber revenue when there was a lot of federal harvest. And so that's why some people who lived here forever remember when the road department used to have 50 employees and now it has 25. So over the decades, the county budget has gotten tighter and tighter. And now we're at a projected flat timber revenue of about $4 million a year. And what we can't expect into the future are fat timber years that will help to fill our savings account, to fill our reserves. So we are actively working on other revenue sources, including tourism and including building our own business through Tillamook County Parks. And so we're in the process right now, successfully, of stabilizing the budget.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, then we'll go into closing remarks. Sorry that this Last question. Do you believe it is more important to the voters to deal with housing issues or rising crime? Commissioner Bell.
Housing. We're, in Tillamook County, certainly there is crime in Tillamook County, but I've never spoken to anyone who would put it at our top problem, and certainly not over housing. We have a serious housing shortage in Tillamook County, and it's getting better. In the time that I've been in office, there are at least 150 new units of housing, and there are that many again that are in the process of being built now. So we've made terrific progress in housing, and yet there's still a great need, and that need is projected to rise over time. It's particularly hard to recruit new professionals to the area because there isn't a lot of housing, and what housing there is not affordable. And it's very hard for young people, including my own son, to ever imagine buying their first home in Tillamook County or on the coast. So housing, definitely.
Great, thank you. Well, we're going to wrap up. I have to do it at least one. I have to do it at least once per position. Okay, Mr. Speaks.
No, that was good. No, I agree with everything she said. I mean, housing is an issue here in Tillamook County. I'm a firm believer of the American dream. People work, grow, develop, buy their home, and, raise their family. Right now, we do have a problem in housing, and I guess Aaron and Paul went back to Washington, D.C., met with some heads of state and different department heads and things like that, and kind of got to tell their story a little bit. So, I believe there's going to be some loosening on FEMA regulations, or at least they got to say their piece on it. But we need some growth, and of course, then we have infrastructure issues as well. But it's all a stepping stone process. But housing, definitely.
Well, sorry about that. So now we're in the wrap-up phase, and we'll start with you, Mr. Spinks. You have 1 minute to let them know why you're the best person for the job.
Well, I'm kind of an outsider. I don't come from a political background. I'm from a business background. Like I said, I've worked in law enforcement. I produced a publication. I found a copy of it the other day, going through some stuff for 8 years. So I know what it takes to start a business, to struggle, to achieve, to fail in a lot of different respects. I shouldn't say fail, that looks bad, but that's how life works. You don't always win. But the thing is I bring a different set of eyes to the table. The county commissioners that we have here have government backgrounds. They have government affiliations. I do not, per se. So I believe I bring a fresh set of eyes, a different perspective, a different way of looking at issues and problems, and hopefully different solutions.
I'd like to talk to you about my core values for a minute, or less than a minute. My core value, what moves me deeply, is service. And this position for me isn't about politics. Neither do I come from a political background or family. In fact, my mother was a nun and my father was a career criminal. So there you go. That's a true story. So I have, what moves me the most is being of service to my fellow humans. I believe that is my purpose in life, is to be of service to my fellow humans. And that's why I love this job. I love the opportunity of being of service to all of you, to being of service broadly across the county in every possible situation to all kinds of people for all kinds of reasons. It's really very humbling and important. It's important work, and I'm passionate about it. I'm good at it. I'd like to keep doing it for 4 more years, and I'm grateful for your continued support. Thank you.
If we could give these candidates a round of applause.